The Boeing XB-15 was a 1937 experimental leap into long-range bombing. It featured a 149-foot wingspan and 4 engines. Though only one prototype was built, it carried 2,500 pounds of bombs over 5,000 miles. This massive aircraft validated the intercontinental concepts that defined American aviation for decades. The Boeing B-17 Flying Fortress entered service in 1938 as the backbone of daylight precision bombing. It carried 4,500 pounds of bombs and bristled with 13 machine guns for defense. Over 12,000 were built during the war. The 8th Air Force suffered a staggering 47% loss rate in the skies over Europe. The Consolidated B-24 Liberator arrived in 1941 and became the most produced American military aircraft in history. With over 18,000 units built, it carried 8,000 pounds of bombs at 290 miles per hour. Its high-efficiency wing gave it superior range for hunting submarines and bombing oil fields. It proved industrial might could overwhelm any enemy. The Douglas XB-19 first flew in 1941 as the largest American aircraft built before World War II. Weighing 162,000 pounds, this giant could carry over 37,000 pounds of bombs. Only one prototype was ever built because it was too slow and expensive for mass production. It pushed engineering boundaries that directly benefited post-war cargo designs. The Boeing YB-40 Flying Fortress was an experimental gunship escort designed to protect B-17 formations. It carried 14 machine guns and 11,000 rounds of ammunition instead of a bomb load. The concept failed in 1943 because the heavy gunship couldn't keep up with standard bombers after they dropped their loads. Long-range fighters eventually solved the escort problem. The Boeing B-29 Superfortress revolutionized war in 1944 with pressurized cabins and atomic capabilities. It carried 20,000 pounds of bombs at 350 miles per hour to targets 3,000 miles away. This aircraft firebombed Japanese cities and dropped the atomic bombs. It represented a technological quantum leap that no other nation could match in 1945. The Consolidated B-32 Dominator entered service in 1944 as a backup plan in case the B-29 failed. It carried 20,000 pounds of bombs and flew at 357 miles per hour. Only 118 were built, and just 15 saw combat in the Pacific. A B-32 flew the final American combat mission of World War II on August 18, 1945. The Boeing B-50 Superfortress was an improved 1947 variant featuring more powerful engines. It could carry 20,000 pounds of bombs over 4,600 miles. In 1949, the Lucky Lady II completed the first non-stop flight around the world using aerial refueling. It served as America's primary nuclear deterrent until the jet age fully arrived. The Convair B-36 Peacemaker was the largest mass-produced piston-engine aircraft ever built. Commissioned in 1949, it featured 10 engines and a 230-foot wingspan. It could carry 86,000 pounds of bombs over 10,000 miles without refueling. Known as 6 turning and 4 burning, it was the ultimate Cold War insurance policy. The Convair XB-46 was a jet bomber prototype that first flew in 1947. It featured a slender design and could carry 22,000 pounds of bombs at 545 miles per hour. Only one prototype was built before losing the competition to Boeing's superior B-47. The failure of this program pushed Convair to develop the supersonic B-58 instead. The Martin XB-48 was another 1947 jet prototype competing for Air Force contracts. It featured 6 engines and an unusual bicycle landing gear configuration. While it carried 22,000 pounds of bombs, its design limited operational flexibility compared to its rivals. The program was canceled in 1950 after the Air Force chose the B-47 design. The Northrop YB-49 was a 1947 jet-powered flying wing derived from piston designs. It offered exceptional range and early radar stealth potential with 8 turbojet engines. Stability problems and a fatal crash eventually doomed the program in 1950. Northrop would later use these lessons to create the B-2 Spirit 40 years later. The North American B-45 Tornado became America's first operational jet bomber in 1948. It carried 22,000 pounds of bombs at 579 miles per hour. During the Korean War, it proved its worth in deep strike reconnaissance roles over North Korea and China. It was a successful first step, but it was soon overshadowed by the B-47. The Boeing B-47 Stratojet revolutionized aviation in 1951. With swept wings and podded engines, it became the most produced jet bomber in history with over 2,000 units built. Flying at 607 miles per hour, its design influenced every future jet from the B-52 to modern airliners. It proved that revolutionary design wins wars. The Convair YB-60 arrived in 1952 as a jet-powered evolution of the massive B-36. It featured 8 engines and could carry 72,000 pounds of bombs. Despite its size, it lost the direct competition to the smaller but higher-performing Boeing B-52. Convair scrapped the program immediately after the Air Force chose the Stratofortress. The Boeing B-52 Stratofortress is the longest-serving bomber in aviation history, entering service in 1955. It carries 70,000 pounds of bombs over 8,800 miles with 8 engines. Designed to be obsolete by 1980, it still flies combat missions today. The Air Force plans to keep this legend operational until 2050. The Convair B-58 Hustler was the world's first supersonic bomber, entering service in 1960. It could dash at Mach 2.0 and set 19 world speed records. While beautiful and fast, its astronomical operating costs led to a short 10-year career. It proved that extreme speed comes at a very high price. The North American XB-70 Valkyrie was a Mach 3 masterpiece designed to fly at 70,000 feet. It featured a unique folding delta wing for supersonic stability. Advanced Soviet surface-to-air missiles made high-altitude bombing obsolete before it could enter production. Only 2 prototypes were built before the program was canceled in 1961. The General Dynamics XB-111A entered service in 1967 as a swing-wing strategic bomber. It was designed for high-speed, low-altitude penetration to evade Soviet radar at Mach 2.5. It carried over 37,000 pounds of bombs and served until 1996. It represented a successful tactical compromise after the Mach 3 dream died. The Rockwell B-1A was a supersonic prototype first flown in 1974 to replace the B-52. It was designed to reach Mach 2.2 and carry 75,000 pounds of bombs. President Carter canceled the program in 1977 in favor of cruise missiles and the stealth program. Though it never entered production, it set the stage for the B-1B. The Rockwell B-1B Lancer entered service in 1986. Optimized for low-altitude penetration instead of high-speed dash, it carries 75,000 pounds of ordnance and features a reduced radar signature. The Lancer has dropped more bombs in Iraq and Afghanistan than any other bomber. It remains a critical backbone of modern American strike power. The Northrop B-2 Spirit became the world's first operational stealth bomber in 1989. Its flying wing design and radar-absorbent materials make it virtually invisible to enemy defenses. Only 21 were built at a cost of $2.2 billion each. It has opened every major American air campaign since 1999 with total impunity. The Northrop Grumman B-21 Raider is America's next-generation stealth bomber, first flying in 2023. It incorporates decades of stealth lessons while costing significantly less than the B-2. At least 100 Raiders are planned to replace the B-1 and B-2 fleets by 2030. It represents the future of penetrating strikes against advanced air defenses